My name is Claire, and I've always prided myself on being a good wife. For 5 years, I've built my life around our marriage, our cozy 2-bedroom house with its mismatched furniture. The garden that never quite thrived, no matter how much I watered it, and the quiet evenings spent side by side on the couch. Him scrolling through his phone while I flipped through pages of books I barely remembered finishing. My husband, Daniel, was steady, dependable, and kind in ways that made me feel safe. We weren't flashy or extravagant. We didn't need to be. Our love wasn't loud, was the kind that whispered promises of forever. But beneath the surface of our ordinary lives, something had shifted. It started small, almost imperceptible at first. A missed date night here, an unanswered text there. Then came the silences, longer, heavier than they used to be. Daniel worked long hours as a project manager, and I told myself that was all. It was exhaustion from work, stress from deadlines. But deep down, I couldn't ignore the gnawing sense that something was missing between us. The intimacy we once shared felt like a memory fading into sepia tones, replaced by polite exchanges about grocery lists and weekend plans. I tried to fix it, of course. I cooked his favorite meals, left little notes in his lunchbox, even suggested couples counseling once, though he brushed it off with a laugh, saying we didn't need all that. Still, I clung to hope because giving up would mean admitting failure, and I wasn't ready for that. So when Daniel mentioned finding a DVD tucked away in the back of our closet, a surprise gift, he thought I smiled and nodded, pretending not to notice the way his eyes lit up with curiosity. Little did I know that innocent discovery would unravel everything I thought I knew about us. The day Daniel found the DVD, I was out running errands, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing back home. He called me later that evening, his voice unusually calm but tinged with an edge I couldn't quite place. "Claire," he began, "we need to talk." My heart skipped a beat. Those 4 words, so often the harbinger of difficult conversations, sent a ripple of unease through me. When I arrived home, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Daniel sat on the edge of the couch, the DVD case resting ominously on the coffee table. His face was pale, his eyes wide with disbelief. "What is this?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. I glanced at the case, my stomach plummeting, as recognition dawned. It was one of the films I had secretly been a part of over the past months. I froze, unable to articulate a response. The room seemed to shrink around me, the walls closing in as the reality of what he had discovered settled heavily upon us both. It's complicated," I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. Daniel's expression hardened, confusion morphing into anger. "Complicated? You work in an adult X-rated film, Claire. How is that even possible?" Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision as I struggled to find the right words. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this," I said, my voice cracking under the weight of guilt. "I wanted to tell you, but I just ... I couldn't." The silence that followed was deafening, punctuated only by the sound of my ragged breathing. Daniel stared at me, his eyes searching mine for answers I wasn't sure I could give. In that moment, the trust we had built over years crumbled, leaving behind a chasm filled with questions and accusations neither of us were prepared to face. "I was doing it for you," I blurted out, the words tumbling from my lips. Before I could stop them, my voice sounded foreign, hollow, like someone else was speaking through me. Daniel's face twisted in disbelief, his jaw tightening as if he were trying to hold back the rage boiling beneath the surface. for me," he repeated, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. "You think making blue film is some kind of gift to me? Do you have any idea how insane that sounds?" His reaction hit me like a punch to the gut. I hadn't expected understanding, but the sheer disbelief in his voice stung more than I could have imagined. "It's not like that," I said quickly, desperation creeping into my tone. "I didn't do it for fun or money. I did it because I thought it might help us. Help us." He shot back, his voice rising now. "How does this betrayal help us? You don't get to make decisions like this without talking to me, without even telling me." He stood abruptly, pacing the room like a caged animal. "Do you have any idea what it felt like to sit there and watch that? To see you with someone else? To hear you moaning sounds like that? And then to realize it wasn't some random stranger, it was you." His words sliced through me, each one landing with brutal precision. I wanted to explain, to make him understand why I'd done it, but my thoughts were a tangled mess. I thought maybe if I could explore other parts of myself, I could bring something new back to us, I said haltingly, my voice shaking. I thought it would make me feel alive again, like I mattered not just as your wife, but as a person. I thought it would fix things between us. Daniel stopped pacing and turned to face me, his expression unreadable. "Fix things, Claire. This isn't fixing anything. This is destroying everything." His voice cracked on the last word, and for the first time, I saw the pain behind his anger, the hurt and betrayal that mirrored my own feelings of emptiness. "I'm sorry," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "I never meant to hurt you." But the apology felt inadequate, like trying to patch a dam with a Band-Aid. The damage was done, and no amount of words could undo what had already been revealed. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog, every step heavy with the weight of what had been uncovered. Daniel retreated into himself, spending long hours at work and coming home late, his presence in the house more spectral than substantial. When he was home, the air between us was thick with unspoken words, each glance exchanged laden with accusation and sorrow. I tried reaching out, tentatively placing a hand on his arm or asking how his day was. But he would flinch away, his responses curt and devoid of warmth. Our once shared spaces became battlegrounds of silent warfare. The dinner table, once a place of quiet companionship, now echoed with the clink of utensils against plates. The silence stretching uncomfortably as we avoided each other's eyes. Even the television, which usually provided a comforting background hum, seemed too loud, its cheerful voices mocking the chasm that had opened between us. Nights were the hardest. Lying in bed, mere inches apart, yet feeling miles away, I listened to the rhythmic sound of his breathing, wondering if sleep brought him any peace or if, like me, he lay awake, replaying the confrontation in his mind. Each morning brought a fresh wave of regret, the sunlight cruelly highlighting the cracks in our relationship. I found myself staring at the wedding photo on the mantel, the smiles frozen in time now seeming ironic, almost mocking. The woman in the picture looked happy, secure in the belief that her future was mapped out in harmonious lines. That woman felt like a stranger now, her certainty shattered by the reality of what I had done. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison of my own making, its walls closing in as the isolation grew unbearable. Every corner held a memory, every object a reminder of the life we were rapidly losing. In the weeks that followed, the weight of my actions pressed heavily on my shoulders, a constant reminder of the life I had fractured. Counseling became my refuge, a sacred space where the chaos within me found a semblance of order. Each session unfolded like peeling layers of an onion, revealing deeper truths about my motivations and fears. It was in these moments of vulnerability that I began to confront the core of my identity, not just as a wife, but as a woman yearning for validation beyond the confines of our marriage. Through therapy, I unearthed the buried desires and insecurities that had driven me to seek fulfillment outside our relationship. I realized that my participation in those films wasn't merely an act of rebellion or exploration. It was a cry for attention, a desperate attempt to reclaim a part of myself that I feared had vanished. As painful as it was to face these revelations, they also offered a strange, comforted clarity that had eluded me for years. Yet, despite these insights, the path to redemption felt daunting. Daniel's absence loomed large, his decision to move out a tangible manifestation of the distance between us. The house, now eerily silent, echoed with memories of laughter and love that seemed irretrievably lost. I oscillated between moments, a fierce determination to mend what was broken and overwhelming despair at the possibility that some wounds might never heal. Each day was a battle against the tide of loneliness, a struggle to piece together a future that felt increasingly uncertain. Months passed, and though Daniel and I remained separated, the counseling sessions continued separately at first, then, cautiously, together. Sitting across from him in that sterile room, I felt the enormity of what I'd done settle over me like a suffocating blanket. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he admitted one day, his voice raw with emotion. His words cut deep, but they also carried a flicker of hope he was still here, still willing to try. "I don't expect you to," I replied softly, my throat tight. "But I want you to know that I'm sorry not just for what I did, but for the person I became." I lost sight of us, of who we were supposed to be. Tears streamed down my face, but I forced myself to meet his gaze. "If there's any chance for us to rebuild, I'll do whatever it takes. But I understand if you can't trust me again." For a long moment, Daniel said nothing, his eyes searching mine, as if trying to decipher whether my remorse was genuine. Finally, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way," he admitted. "But maybe we can start somewhere new, somewhere honest." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I allowed myself to believe that healing might be possible.
With this story or found it thought-provoking, please take a moment to like and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the complexities of human emotions. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us continue bringing stories that resonate with real-life experiences. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. How would you have handled this situation? Let's start a conversation about love, trust, and redemption.